first? Who? Got first base. Who? Got first. Who is on first? What are you asking me for? I'm asking you.
Yeah, let's move over to the NL. So we're obviously locally we're both big NL teams. So let's start with the East, and we're gonna save the actual Central for last since we're Cubs and Cardinals fans.
Right.
But Brian, take me through your NL
East. All right. So this one may catch some people off here, but we'll figure it out. I think Philly takes the top spot. I think the Mets figure out a way with pitching. Even though they're not strong, I think their lineup kind of holds them over until they can figure some things out. I have Atlanta in third. Again, I think the Mets and Atlanta are going to go back and forth. I could very easily see...
like within one game of each other?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
like I could see them flip-flopping real quickly. I think Washington will be in the fourth spot. I think, again, much like the Athletics, they're a very young team, a good team. I think they come out of the gates hot.
Yep.
But kind of hit their wall, if you will, later. Yeah. And Miami's just not going to be relevant. No, Let's just be honest. They're going to be fighting with Chicago for the worst team in Major League Baseball.
Yep. Poor Miami fans, man.
Yeah. They got good for 1 year.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I also have Philadelphia on top. Big Bryce Harper guy and another clutch playoff performer right there.
Can't argue. Not saying I like it, but can't argue.
I have Atlanta slotting in it too. 2 years ago, if you would have asked me, I would have said that's the most talented team in baseball.
Yeah.
And I'm still not convinced that they're not. So even though I said just about 5 minutes ago that they're not, but Atlanta's extremely taulted.
Yeah.
And Austin Riley being hurt last year, Acuna being hurt last year, like those were big hits last year.
Yeah, and that's why I think they're going to – I think ultimately for me they slotted in at 3 is I think they're going to get off to a little bit slower of a start because Acuna, some of those guys aren't going to be back yet.
Yeah.
Strider's not going to be back to start the season. So I think it's gonna have its bumps early and maybe especially when you talk about Philly and the Mets, they can widen that gap a little bit. That makes it hard to catch up. That's just my opinion.
I have the Mets 3 with Washington and then, of course, Miami. Kind of the same. Washington's got Dylan Cruz is probably going to come in and have a pretty solid year, I imagine. We'll see. Miami's probably sending Sandy Alcantara to Chicago at the deadline. So, that's the piece we need. So, that's where he's headed. Mets.
I think he's going to be in New York, not the Mets either, but that's just me.
It's kind of interesting with the Mets. Does Lindor have the type of year he had last year?
Yeah.
As a very big fan of Lindor, he had a really strong season last year.
Yeah, I mean, he's second in MVP.
Yeah. Alonso, I don't know. I mean, I hope he was training all offseason when all this contract stuff was happening, but who knows?
Right.
Philly, to me, is probably the most prepared team. Their pitching is ridiculous. They've got great players on both sides of the ball. So, it's probably Philly. Like I said, I'll take Atlanta at 2. And then, Mets.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'd argue that Philly has probably the second best starting rotation in all of
baseball. Playoff rotation, right? The best playoff rotation.
Yeah, I will give you that, Tim.
Yeah. So, interesting. I have Atlanta at first. I agree with all you guys. I think they're the most talented. 2 years removed at this point. I guess 1 year technically from having the best historically offensive team in all of baseball.
Yeah.
Same players are all still there. Now Acuna, he's got to come back late. He's got to ramp back up. Timing obviously is a big thing in hitting a baseball in today's game. But too many good pieces, man. And then they signed Profar.
That was sneaky
Kelnick
good pickup.
Is there.
Kelnick the trade from a year ago.
So
and then Brian
whatever
De La
left
Cruz,
fielder's gonna hit.
Right.
They brought in the ever present Brave of Jesse Chavez again this morning. So sixth stint with the
Did
Braves.
They really?
Yeah.
I didn't even see that.
Sixth stint with the Braves.
That's awesome. Michael Harris is my actually MVP of pick for the Braves this year. I think he's gonna take another step up. But
I can see him moving forward.
Dude,
I love Ozzy Albies too.
Yeah,
dude is a stud.
He's having a really terrible spring. I don't know. They just put it all together. Schwellenbach is my pick for like a bunch of my superlative picks.
Right.
It could just because Spencer Strider is going to come back late.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Strider, Acuna, and Sean Murphy,
Yeah.
all out to start the season.
Yep.
Those are big pieces.
But
to
if you think
lose.
about last year, man, they won, was it 89 games? They made it into the wild card with half their roster on the IL.
Yeah, I mean, but does Ozuna have the year
That's
that he had
exactly- yeah.
last
True.
year? I think he falls off a little bit. Although I think having Riley back, big
Riley.
for them.
Yeah.
Olsen, I don't think he puts together the same year he had. I think he'll be fine. Like I don't want to
Yeah.
like knock him, but to me, that's where I think it starts to get a little bit weary because doing it for 1 year,
Yeah.
okay. Doing it for 2 years where you have a good core, like we're talking the elites of their roster,
Right.
not there. That's hard
Yeah.
to do.
I mean, if you think about, dude, the rotation is sneaky.
Yep.
Yeah.
It stacks up to the Phillies if you think about it. Chris Sale, Lopez, Spencer Strider, Schwellenbach. Lopez had, I think, the best ERA
Yeah,
last
he was
year.
a stud.
Yeah.
No, Sale did because he won the Triple
Sale,
Crown. But
but yeah,
Lopez,
he was right there. He was with him step for step all the
and then
way.
eventually Strider comes back.
Well, that's
Like,
the big piece there. If they can keep their heads up while everybody's ramping up, and then Strider gets back into
Right.
the shape he was in a couple years ago, like
Yeah.
he's
yeah.
as
I would put
dominant
him
as a
up
pitcher as
against
you
the
can get.
Dodgers if everything falls their way.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
But
So then Philly's my second place pick, and I think they're going to take a step back this year.
Hmm.
I have them only winning like 90 games. I just think,
don't let Bryce Harper hear that.
Yeah.
well, so
Because
he's
then he'll
one of
go
the
out and
picks.
have an MVP year.
He
You're
had a
not wrong.
horrible postseason last year. It
Right,
tailed
right.
off in 23's postseason as well, like during the Diamondback series. So I just think he's going to fall off, in my personal opinion. Wheeler is also trending down badly. His fastball velo has dipped on the charts in 23 and 24, a couple ticks, and his hard hit rate is spiking up.
Sure.
And he's their pitcher. He's their gamer, right? Their dog. Obviously, he's fantastic in the playoffs, but if he's getting hit harder,
True.
and 162 games plus 20, I mean, he's not pitching for 20 games in the playoffs, but yeah, 30, 35, 36 games later in a season when those two things are ticking, I just think they're going to make the playoffs, but I just think they're trending down, and then they're losing a lot of pieces last year if they don't re-sign him this year.
Yeah.
I have the Mets third, and I have them not making the playoffs at all, and I think they're going to be dog water.
You're hoping.
No, their pitching is just decimated right now.
100%.
And, I mean, obviously Soto is a generational talent. He's going to be a legendary player. I kind of the same thing with you with Lindor. I love Lindor. I'm wondering what he's going to be like. I'm not high on Alonso at all.
I don't think the Mets are either.
No,
I think
they're
they're
only
gonna
showed that too.
Steve Cohen is high on
Yeah.
him. And then who's the third baseman? I'm blanking on his name right now.
Vientos.
Great player. I don't know.
I think his bat plays, but
Alvarez
I think he
is
has a
injured to start.
regression defensively again.
Yeah.
I think he kind of becomes like that
He's got to move to first
Devers
base. But
aspect.
yeah, he's got to move to first base. But they want Alonso long term. And with the deal that Alonso has, if he has a bad season, he's gonna take his option.
Well, the big piece, I think it's kind of weird to say, but losing Jose Quintana out of that pitching rotation,
Yeah, that was big.
I think hurts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rotation in general is just decimated.
But I mean, they added Clay Holmes,
Great
and
pitcher.
he looks like he's
going to be a stud. I
Yeah.
don't
Like-
doubt David Stern's ability to.
I mean, and again, they have questions for sure because a lot of people starting on the IL, pitchers mainly. I mean, Jeff McNeil's on the IL, Francisco Alvarez potentially not going to start the season. So, yeah, there's a lot. And then, of course, you got Montas, Manaea, all on the IL. So, yeah, I mean, pitching is going to be the biggest
going to have
thing.
an innings limit to start.
Yeah.
He's got to ramp back up. Their rotation right now is Holmes, McGill, Canning, Peterson, and Senga. It's like
It's tough.
Yeah, they could dig a hole they may not be able to dig.
exactly.
right.
Now they did that last year, and they made it to the CS, but they had the OMG dude.
Yeah, and he's gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, chemistry is a wicked thing in baseball.
True.
Right.
But
And I mean, they're going to the only downside for me is they're going to put a lot of pressure on their bullpen.
Yeah.
I
Which they have a
mean,
really solid bullpen.
Right.
True.
Right.
But yeah.
I think Jose Buto makes a step up this year. You saw him a little bit last year out of their bullpen.
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
think ultimately he might even be somebody that they look at closer beyond Diaz.
I agree.
So
Minter's really good.
right. They have pieces there, and that's why I think I kind of kept them in the 2 spot. Is I think they can eat enough innings early in the season to allow some of these other guys to get healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I have Washington and Miami, and I think the Mets and Washington have a similar record.
I agree.
Okay.
I think they're going to be close.
Yeah. So I only have Atlanta and Philly making the playoffs. Let's do the West real quick, Brian.
Yeah, no surprise here. I have LA, the Dodgers
Winning
setting an
162.
I have them setting an MLB record and winning 118 games this year.
Whoa.
Like
Yeah.
I totally see that coming in the number 1 spot. A little bit of a surprise here. I shifted this from early spring, but after just looking at some things, I have Arizona going
That's
into
right,
the
buddy.
2 spot.
That's right.
I have the Padres in 3.
Yeah.
I have the Giants, and I think the Giants and the Padres will fight it out for that 3 spot.
spot.
And then, of course, Colorado is just Colorado. I mean, again, making a trade of Jones just this week, like it just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not real sure what they're doing there, what they're trying to build.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah. Just to go off that piece, that Colorado had built that whole team up. Like it looked like they were contending, or like right there. They were just a couple pieces away when Arenado was there and everything. And then they just tore it all down.
Right.
And it does not look like they have any vision at all for the future.
Yeah.
So,
Cargo is such a good player during that time period.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. I've got the Dodgers, unfortunately, winning the division in spite of Dave Roberts. I have Arizona also slotted in there, and I think they're going to keep that division a lot closer.
Like
year.
Arizona's
going to keep that
wow.
division a lot closer this year. They've got a very talented roster.
I like that prediction.
And
Yes,
added
they do.
Corbin Burns in.
Yeah.
Ketel Marte is one of the most underrated players in baseball. He's Jose Ramirez for Arizona. I have San Diego slotting in at 3. Just a very talented roster. That's what it amounts to. Giants, I've got at 4, and then Colorado. But the Dodgers, I think you already kind of saw from the first 2 games of the year. They were without Mookie, who is probably the most underrated superstar in baseball. Can do literally everything. He can even bowl a 300. They were without Freeman first game, and they still got it done. It's an all-star roster, and
I mean, 8 deep in starting pitching. I mean, all of
and
it.
they're all
So,
aces.
right?
especially
It's stupid.
regular season, especially that comes into play. Like the talented team's going to win.
Yes.
2
one
out
with
of 3
depth, too.
games in each series or
Yeah.
whatever, and that adds up throughout the year. Playoffs, there's more questions. The
Right.
Dodgers have shown some weakness in the playoffs
Yes.
throughout the years, but
I've always wondered what that shakes out at because they were horrible in 23.
yeah.
They didn't hit at all. But then I think the bracket really depends. Like matchups really depend.
Yep.
Arizona schools the Dodgers in the regular season in general, and so I mean in their 23 run that was part of it.
True.
Yeah.
So I have the Dodgers winning, then Arizona right behind them with I think I have them with like 95 or 96 wins. So I'm really high. And then I have the Giants in number 3.
Wow.
Okay. I can see it.
Yeah.
Their
Pick up
rotation
Adames.
is really
Yeah.
good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brought Adames in. They don't have the deepest and the best lineup, but if you think about the run that they had in the 10s, pitching controlled their game.
True.
Yeah. And they got a big pitcher's ballpark for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
Huge.
Logan Webb, Verlander, Robbie Ray. I mean, Robbie Ray is a Cy Young winner or 60-day IL.
Well, if you
60-day
can
IL
get
guy.
Verlander for probably 80% of what he used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the best number 2 pitchers in
Yeah.
baseball.
And again, in that park is
Yep.
going to
2 years
create
removed for a
favor
Cy
for
Young,
him.
right?
Correct.
And I think Jordan Hicks is going to actually finish the season in the starting rotation this year.
I can see
I
it.
know. I mean, they're stretching him out, so he ran out of gas because he'd
Yeah.
been a reliever. I mean, and we know.
You're right.
I'm a big Hicks fan in general, but I just think with their development and his stuff, I think he stays in the rotation. That's a solid number 3 or 4 pitcher. I'd put him in a game in a playoff game.
Sure.
Sure.
And And I have the Padres in fourth. I have them really falling off.
Okay.
Their vets are getting older.
Their pitching staff's going to be problematic, other
Pitching
than
staff's
maybe
gonna be
1,
problematic.
2, because again, Darvish not going to start the season.
Yeah.
So
And I have them trading Cease.
Cease could be a.
yeah, I
Big
could
trade.
see
I thought
that.
they were going to trade him in in
Yeah,
spring.
I thought he was gone.
Yeah.
I think he
They
will
still
be
might.
dealt at the deadline regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I have
The
them.
Yankees are going to grab him,
I don't think they make the playoffs. So
or the Cubs.
Also true.
I wanted Cease
home.
2 years ago
Sure.
from the White Sox. Machado's getting older. Kind of the same thing with Arenado.
I just like Tatis and Merrill.
100%.
too.
I mean, but if you think about those two dudes being the carrier of your offense, Machado falling off and Bogarts.
Yeah,
I
What
still
is
can't
he?
believe they signed that contract.
right.
Yeah,
was,
and if you're
that
him, why
was
are you gonna say
crazy.
no?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
$300 million? Yeah.
Absolutely. He probably couldn't believe he got that offer.
Yeah,
so.
right.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I have them falling off, and then obviously Colorado taking last. The bracket I almost made. I know we're not doing that yet, but the bracket I almost made. I almost had 3 AL.
I know.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, confused.
All over the place.
It's all good.
I
It's
almost
good.
had 3 West teams making it and 2 in the
Yeah,
East,
yeah.
but I changed my bracket up because I'm a little bit of a homer. Before we move on to the Central, let's do
You want me-
superlatives real quick for the NL.
All right, yeah.
Brian, you can go first.
So, like I said, for me, this is where I think it's going to get a little crazy for you guys, but I went out on a limb here. I had some fun with this one.
Okay.
So, for me, my MVP is going to be Corbin Carroll.
Oh.
I think
Wow.
he
Pick,
really
though.
takes
Okay.
a big jump.
Yeah.
So I'm going MVP is going to be Corbin Carroll. Cy Young, I think we're all probably going to lean on this one. I think it's Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
Batting title, I think,
Really?
is Ketel Marte.
Yeah.
I think he really kind of climbs in that, makes a step up. Again, I go
Triple crown.
no Triple Crown on either side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My rookie of the year, I know, Michael, you're going to love this. I think it's going to be Matt Shaw from the Cubs. I think that dude is legit, as painful as it makes me to say that.
Yep.
I think him getting everyday opportunities at third
Yeah, you guys should be excited about him.
I agree.
is going to be big. I put Roki Sasaki on his heels
Sure.
in that, but
Yeah.
I think that Sasaki's going to have adjustment struggles, just like we see with a
Yeah.
lot of pitchers, and I think that's going to set him back a little bit. And then my manager of the year, even though I say the Dodgers break the MLB record for wins, I think it's expected, so I don't
True.
think Dave Roberts gets the credit for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think Torey Lovello from Arizona, because of what Arizona is able to do and getting into the playoffs, being second in that spot. And I think, like you said, keeping it close. Because even though I think the Dodgers will set the record, I think for a good part of the year, Arizona's going to be right on their heels pushing them. And then at the end, they'll make a little bit of a stride out away from them.
Yeah. Interesting. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'm going to go slightly homer pick on this one and roll with Tucker as MVP.
Big time home. That's
big-
all right. I've got
That's
homer
okay.
takes too.
Part of that is, though, he is a guy that for the last 5 years, outside of last year, he did have over a I think it was 5.3 WAR.
Yeah.
Each of the, and he's typically a guy that gets going in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
So we kind of all have seen that before, where a guy loses it down the stretch. Goldschmidt probably lost 4 MVPs down the stretch.
Yeah.
I've got him taking that. My Cy Young is Skeens. I hate to make that pick, but that dude just has wicked stuff, and
Yeah, right.
He added two more pitches. This is
someone
They're
else
all at like 98.
someone else takes it from him. Okay, whatever. But like I just don't see it happening.
Yeah.
I did have a couple of other guys to watch for MVP. I had Ketel Marte on that list. Bryce Harper, I had a watch out type of season on him this year. Ohtani, of course, is always going to be in that because he's Ohtani. And then I have Tatis carrying San Diego into the playoffs.
Okay.
I think Machado, I do agree. I think Machado's probably on the wrong side of
Falls off.
30, but I think he's going to be relevant enough. And Jackson Merrill, I was unbelievably impressed with the season he put
Dude, I
together
love
last year.
I love Merrill.
Yeah.
Like,
I
100%.
think he's a stud, too.
It was
Yeah.
unreal.
Super stud.
And he showed up in the
Yeah.
playoffs too. So
Right.
he's a good player.
Think about if the Dodgers had Merrill.
That'd be
yeah.
that'd be stupid.
Yeah.
Wild. Wasn't Jordan Alvarez?
He was a
also
Dodger.
Yeah, he was signed by the
Yeah,
Dodgers.
crazy. And then I also have Matt Shaw,
Rookie of the
kind
year.
of as rookie of the year. Looked through everything. The Cubs have to be very high on him to let Cam Smith go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Cam Smith, everything I heard prior to that trade happening was an absolute dog. Everybody loved him.
Dude,
but they
what he's
they
doing
moved
in
Isak
spring right now?
Paredes. I mean, this is a guy that was
Right.
an all-star 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah.
Very
That they had
solid
just
player.
traded
and
for.
they just traded for him
Right.
because they thought he was a good player.
Right.
They threw in a lot to get Tucker, so obvious. I think everybody likes Kyle Tucker, but
Yeah.
MVP. I don't know. Maybe it's a stretch. Maybe it's not. I feel like he's there. But Matt Shaw, I think, definitely takes the Rookie of the Year for the NL.
So my MVP is actually Skeens.
Okay.
I think he's
I
going to
could
win
see it.
the Cy Young
Yeah.
and MVP.
Guy wins 30 games.
I just for
For
me
real.
it looks like
Yeah, right?
And the Pirates finished with 50 wins.
right.
Paul Skeens wins.
Right.
Yeah.
I just feel like the way the league is going
Yeah.
is the Cy Young is essentially the MVP
I agree.
For pitch.
for pitching.
Yeah.
So that's why I just don't see that happening.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he's good enough by every means.
I just think, when's the last time that happened? Was it Verlander? Was the last time that happened? He won an MVP and a Cy Young in the same year. I feel like that
I
happened.
couldn't tell you that.
Teams Kershaw maybe.
Yeah,
Kershaw, I think, won in
he's done
2014.
it right.
I just think he's that type of player, and the only reason is because I don't think Ohtani pitches this year. If he pitches, I don't think it's for very long.
Well, and I think it'll be same kind of premise. I think he'll be on an innings limit every
Yeah.
time he pitches early.
because he's not
so-
supposed to start until
right,
May.
right.
Then he's got to.
And I think it's for Ohtani. Obviously, he's going to be in the conversation, but I think it's the same thing as the Judge situation. He's going to have an absolute electric year that
Yeah.
mirrors what he did last year to even kind of get up to that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's going to have that same offensive year. I just think because he's not pitching as much and what Skeens ends up doing this year, I literally think could have a 20-win season.
Yeah.
Oh, there's no doubt.
St. Louis
Right.
is the only team that beats him, which is hilarious because we can't beat anybody that's an ace.
Well,
That's true.
That's the
He
thing.
absolutely ate the Cubs up last year. Like
Yeah.
the Cubs, I was like, well, that's just a loss. Don't even bother playing.
Yeah,
him.
right.
And I think we saw it have to play him 3 times last year. I'm like, are you kidding me right
Yeah.
now?
And then I have Skeens winning the Triple Crown.
Okay.
And I
could
also
see
ha-
that.
I also have
could see that.
Ohtani winning the batting Triple Crown.
Oh.
Homer
Okay.
take.
Ooh.
I'm a big Triple Crown fan.
Okay.
Right.
I just think
could
they're really.
I could see it out
so
of
good for
Ohtani.
Yeah.
But I do more than Witt winning it. I
100%
see
agree.
Ohtani winning the Triple
I
Crown.
would give you that.
He's got the
like
power.
if there's anybody
Yeah.
on either side right now that
Yep.
could do it from an average standpoint, the home runs and the RBIs, it's
And
Ohtani.
the thing for me also, if he can do those numbers, why are you going to have him pitch?
True.
I
The
mean,
dude had a 50-50 season.
Well, to me, that's the piece you keep in your back pocket.
Right.
Randomly in the playoffs, you
Right.
throw him out there, and everybody's
Yeah.
like, "Wait a
he's
second,
throwing, he's
hold
throwing
on now."
100 like the
Come
biggest
on.
gas you've ever seen.
exactly. That to me, he is a DH
Yep.
Yeah.
that will
Pitch
maybe
sometimes.
be a 6-day-ish pitcher, maybe
Yeah.
once every 2 weeks.
Yep.
I give him a pitching
How
opportunity.
stupid is that?
Right.
That's just ridiculous.
Yeah. My rookie of the year is Dylan Cruz. Actually,
Okay.
Don't hate that.
I think
Yeah.
he had not enough. I think service time last year
Yeah.
to make him eligible this year, but also had enough time to learn how to adjust and everything. And because Churio already had a rookie year, I think Cruz has him out. I was thinking about your boy. I think he falls off though.
It's fine. It's possible.
Yeah.
He could come up and be like, "Oh, no, the major's too much."
Just because I watched both the Dodger Cubs games in Tokyo, obviously smallest sample size ever,
yeah.
Right.
but he looked completely overmatched.
Well,
Did get
everybody's
his first
going to
career
against.
MLB hit while he was there, though.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean,
Everybody looks overmatched
Because he's fast.
though
Yes.
against those people.
Yeah.
right? I mean, and Mason Wynn's first hit was the same
infield
thing.
single, right.
A chopped single that
I
he
still
just-
remember that Alonso
faster.
threw into the stands for fans.
Yeah, and it was hilarious. I was gonna pick Sasaki, and I feel like that's the most pick, but I don't think he's actually gonna pitch enough to do it.
No.
I think he's going to hit that wall. Like I said, I think he's got to learn how to pitch. He's got 2 really good pitches.
Yeah.
He's got to pick up that third one, and I think that's where hitters will figure him out at the MLB level for a period. He's so young, though. He's going to be a stud. Like, I'm not trying to sleep on him by any
100%.
stretch.
I also think he's not going to be up in the majors the whole year. I think he's going to end up in the minors. I don't know if that's going to be in the middle of the season, beginning, middle of the season, or end of the season. I just don't think he's only got like 80 innings under his belt a year.
Yeah.
Which that's pretty low.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we're talking about Roby. He's only got like 60 something innings.
Right.
So same with Hins. So yeah, I think Cruz is my pick, but I think the what is he, a third baseman? Outfielder?
Yeah. Well,
He's third baseman.
He's a third baseman now.
Shaw.
I mean, that
Right.
wasn't where he did play, but that's where he's been getting everyday play. So
pretty good picks. I think those are pretty good takes. Mine's a little bit of a homer take, but that's fine. We all got homer takes.
yeah.
Sure.
So I thought what would be really fun to finish off predictions, talking about the Central Division, since both of us are Cardinals fans and Cubs fans. I think it'd be really fun to break down the teams and go a little deeper and a little more specific. If this is too long, we might break it into 2 episodes. If we probably not, because we just talk hours anyway. So you can catch it the next time. You know,
Yeah, you can break it yourself if you want to. Split it up for 2 days and listen.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start. Yeah, let's go. Let's do Cubs. So talk to me about the Cubs this year.
The Cubs, kind of underrated pickup was Matt Boyd. In my opinion, he's pitched well for Detroit.
Yeah.
Solid pitcher there. Ben Brown, unfortunate situation, game 1 against the Dodgers, obviously. But that kid's going to be a stud. Justin Steele, I think, returns back to be the guy he was a couple years ago.
So you're not worried about him after that game?
Nah, I think he's got it. I think he does. He was a guy that was kind of borderline DFA not maybe 4 years ago, and then really kind of figured it out. So Taillon, he's a wild card for the Cubs. There's been a stretch where he was one of the best pitchers in baseball. There's been a stretch where he was one of the worst starters in baseball. So I don't know. And then Imanage, that dude's just a really solid pitcher.
Yeah, I'm super mad that the Cardinals didn't sign him. I wanted him really, really bad.
Yeah, he's I don't know what it is. I guess just a slight caveat. I guess the reason he's there is because of Yu Darvish, because Yu Darvish spoke unbelievably high on the Cubs organization, and how they handle bringing translators and things like that in for him. And Imanaga said that's why he signed there.
Well, it's probably the biggest market in the Midwest, right?
Yeah.
Technically, I would think.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Biggest city for sure.
Miguel Amaya's starting to seem like he's finally figuring out how to hit in the MLB, which is important because he was the piece that was keeping Wilson Contreras around for a while, and then they were like, all right, we're going to let him go. And then it turned out Amaya wasn't ready, but good news, Yan Gomes randomly has a resurrection season.
Gomes.
They brought in Carson Kelly to back him up. Not a bad backup catcher by any means. Guy that's got a ton of history, behind him. So knows what he's doing. Former Cardinal.
Old friend.
Horner, kind of an underrated player in my opinion. But he is hurt or was hurt.
Yeah.
And so he'll probably spend a little time down. Dansby Swanson, probably the best defensive shortstop, if not top 3 defensive shortstop in baseball. He can hit. He's not going to have a 300 season.
Yeah, no.
They did bring in Justin Turner late to kind of help Matt Shaw out.
That's a good pickup.
That's the reason, and that was the one reason I'm a little worried about Seattle is because Justin Turner said he wanted to come back to Seattle, but also didn't understand why they didn't go make any moves.
Right?
Because he's like, if I was their only move they made, that would have been the worst move they could have made, and they didn't even make that move. So, you've got that piece. Obviously, Matt Shaw, Rookie of the Year. That means he's had a very strong season.
Right.
Central's going to be really weird this year. Probably going to be relatively competitive. I don't know that there's anybody that you're just looking at and just going, oh, they're going to run away with it.
I agree.
Not to be a homer, but I think the Cubs probably have the best team looking at it.
No, on paper, I think you're right.
We'll see. Pete Crow Armstrong really started to seem like he was figuring it out late in the season last year, and if he is that guy, he's unbelievable. He gets on base.
Are you a fan of PCA?
I don't know.
Like fandom right now.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of strange. Some of his stuff's a little quirky for me, but I think that's also part of just that younger generation that's coming up. Like, they like to play a little more than probably I'm used to.
His speed is unreal, and if he can get on base and he becomes that leadoff, I think that's when the Cubs really become the threat in the Central.
You think PCA will take the leadoff away from Ian Happ?
I think so. Ian Happ is tremendous. I think he's another underrated player in my opinion. And again, you know how hard this is for me to say out loud when I talk it through, because there are a lot of players. There were a few players from the Cubs that I would take. We got one in Willie. Mm-hmm. The other one was Rizzo. I love that dude through and through. Tremendous
guy. I'm
going
to be honest, I'm glad we don't have him. You think about the fall.
No, I agree. But and early in his career.
We have a friend, which we haven't introduced him to you, who is a big Rizzo fan.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. But I think Happ's good. I just think Happ's better if you're looking at him from like in my opinion, from the 5-hole. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense for Ian Happ. And so if you can figure that out,
I would rather have him in the 4-hole than being honest.
It'd be really good. Well,
actually,
honestly,
I would like
for
him in
me,
the 2.
Well, the pieces you got to worry about now because you brought Kyle Tucker in. I would have said that would 100% would have been the spot to slot him in. But you've got Suzuki, who's probably going to spend a large portion of the season as a DH this year. Mm-hmm. You have Kyle Tucker, who's got to be somewhere either your 3 or 4.
He's got to be 3 in my opinion. You need him there.
So where are you sliding in Happ along with some of these other guys? Yeah. Horner's got to be up there in that mix too. Dansby Swanson's got to be in there. So, Swanson, I'd say you're probably going to end up slotting in at 6 or 7, which is kind of crazy. Not a bad spot to be able to slot a guy like that in.
Not at all.
They've got quite a lot of depth that they didn't used to have. Gage Workman was a big surprise during spring training. I don't know whether
he's Rule 5 from Detroit
work out. But he had a very strong spring training. He is got so little that they actually don't even have his picture up with ESPN. So we'll see what happens with him. But they just have enough guys, I think, to get it done. At least in the Central Division. Kyle Tucker goes on an MVP run, and Matt Shaw goes on that. That's another guy you got to slide in that roster. Goes on a Rookie of the Year run, like I'm hoping. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a pretty solid roster.
I mean, would you say you're hoping that by the end of the season, PCA leads off and then it's Ian Happ in the 2-hole?
Definitely PCA's got to be your 1. I'd say if Matt Shaw's playing that well to be in the Rookie of the Year conversation, I'd probably slot him in as 2 because he's got speed as well. Yeah. And if you can get both those guys up in front of Kyle Tucker or Suzuki, either one, which Suzuki is sneaky fast also. So maybe slot in Suzuki at 3, Tucker at 4, and then you've got the protection of Happ at 5. Yeah. That'd be unbelievable. So
what do you think could go wrong?
A whole lot. One.
That means every team.
What's
I guess the better question would be, what's the thing that you're looking out for that would tell you, oh, this is not trending?
I'd say probably pitching. Pitching's gonna really gonna make or break the team. I think they're gonna have enough offense to keep around. Like a team like Milwaukee, they were a little better on offense last year than typical, but they usually just roll with great pitching, and that's all they have. Yep. They, like I said, they've got a couple of young pieces there in Milwaukee that can hit, but if you can put up 3 or 4 runs on Milwaukee, you can win a lot of games.
Yeah.
And, I think it's probably going to be pretty similar with a lot of the other rosters. Pittsburgh, I looked at their roster the other day. It is not good.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
Right.
If there's any Pirates guys listening to this, I'm sorry. Hopefully you guys have a great year, but your roster's pretty rough.
I think O'Neal Cruz is gone by the deadline. I think they move on from him.
Really?
Yeah. I think they're just going to start clearing the way like they typically do.
That's a hot
I agree.
take.
I actually kind of agree with that.
I think they're going to just get too good of an offer.
He's not taking that step that they hope he's going to take, and I think he's going to start the season hot enough that some team's going to go, we want that guy. Yep. And Pittsburgh, they know who they're building around now. It's Skeens.
Yep. They're not building around him, though. He's going to be gone, too.
Well, they're going to tell us that's who they're building around. You're not wrong. Here in 5 years, he's gone, too. But I think it's It's pitching for sure.
It's interesting because you're sorry.
No, you're good.
They had the Cubs had the craziest run differential last year. I feel like they
Yes, they did.
underperformed.
Yep.
Because if you look at our two team seasons, the Cardinals way overperformed their run differential. Like we were supposed to be like a 70-something win, but our bullpen kept so many one-run games
Ryan
alive.
Helsley was unreal.
Whereas your guys you were slugging, but your bullpen couldn't do it. Go ahead.
And they made some adjustments with the bullpen. Obviously, bringing in Presley, they brought in Brazier. I mean, there's a number of guys they brought in.
Yep.
That's my only question mark right now is, will that make the difference?
Yep.
These are good guys that I think have the ability to do that if they're pitching right.
Well, that's Julian Merriweather's a guy I'm kind of watching in there to see if he kind of takes a step forward because he's a guy that they definitely need performing out there in that bullpen.
Yeah.
He's a guy that's probably a DFA candidate as well. So, if he's performing well, I'd say there's going to be a trade at some point.
Yeah.
And it's going to be for pitching if I had to guess. Like I said, I've seen Sandy Alcantara a lot to the Cubs.
I could see that completely.
Just because it makes sense for them. We have a lot of prospects as well. Currently kind of clogged up in the farm system. So it can make sense for them too to get good for another year and then trade everybody off again. So
yeah, I could see that. And for me, just to speak to the Cubs, because I did some superlatives for them.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah.
I won't go into the record stuff yet until we get through there. But like for me, I agree. I think Tucker's going to be the team MVP, even though I don't have him. I think it's bittersweet.
Yeah.
Because I think he has such a good, solid year that he's going to test free agency regardless. I'm not saying he won't ultimately come back to the Cubs if they're willing to give him the contract that he wants.
He's probably not coming back then.
But
right.
But unfortunately, I think that's what's going to happen. He's going to play really, really well and then go, I can get maybe $500-600 million.
Absolutely.
And that's where he
Which
looks.
I don't think the Cubs pay like that.
No.
Right?
Well, the Cubs operate as a small team for whatever reason, even though they're a top 5 largest revenue every year. And it kills me.
Yeah, such is the life of
the guy that surprises me this year, and I have him as my breakout hitter for Chicago, is Michael Busch.
Oh,
I think he really
Michael Busch,
right. I think he really takes a step forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
For them, the breakout pitcher you mentioned, I think, is Boyd.
Yeah.
I think he's primed for a good year. I think he ultimately kind of becomes that ace that you're looking for. Not that I think Steele's going to be bad.
Yep.
I think he's just not going to be elite as what he has been.
To me, Steele is not an ace. And he never has really been. The Cubs made him an ace 2 years ago because they had nothing.
I mean, it's kind of like Sonny Gray. He's not an ace.
Agreed.
That's what we have.
If you can slot that guy in as your 2 or 3, though, you're like,
wonderful.
Oh, awesome. Like, we got Justin Steele coming at you game 2. Like, great.
Yeah.
Feeling pretty good then. Or even Naga, either one. Like, pretty solid. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's good. Unfortunately, here, my most disappointing player, I think, is going to be Presley.
Yeah,
I think that's going to break their hearts a little bit. I think he's going to blow a number of games for them early, and they're going to have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Again, no surprise here, as I mentioned it earlier. Top rookie, I think, is going to be Shaw by far. I think he just performs, and like I said, I have a record prediction for him, but I'll hold that until we get to laying out the Central as a whole.
Yeah, the Michael Busch piece, I didn't even think about that. He really did carry the Cubs for a good portion of the season last year.
Yeah.
When their offense was kind of really struggling, he was not. And he was kind of that nice little piece we weren't really expecting. So, and he was very solid on the defensive side as well. So,
and I think he carries that again this year. Obviously, everyday first baseman for him.
Yeah.
I think there are some players in the league that need those everyday reps because it translates to their bats, and I think that's him.
Yep.
You want to? So we can talk about. We'll do the same thing with the Cardinals. I'll let you go first, Brian.
What do you want to talk about? Like, there's so much to talk about.
So the roster was just announced, and my boy Victor Scott made it, and I think him and PCA are a really good comp to each other.
I like that.
I think technically on the stat sheet, Victor Scott's like faster by like a point.
Sure.
1. second, but
game speed, man, to me is what matters most.
True.
And PCA looks really, really fast in game.
yeah,
I watched him make some defensive plays last year. I was like, I don't know how he tracked that thing down. And
Yeah.
he did it
yeah,
catching the ball in stride rather than a
Right.
dive. It was
yeah.
unbelievable.
I think this would be a good comparison. I mean, I know you live in St. Louis, but you're a Cubs fan. Who has better coaching staff?
So in full disclosure, I one of the guys I work with is a big Brewers fan, and I
Okay.
told him for a couple years, you guys need to fire Craig Counsell because he says holding you back, and then the Cubs go and make him the highest paid manager in baseball, and
Because I'm thinking from a point of view. So like, for the Cardinals this year, we brought John Jay in as the like outfield infield coach, more an outfield coach,
yeah.
and so. I've been from the beginning of this podcast, everybody would know I'm a big Victor Scott guy.
Sure.
But all they talked about in the off season in the spring was how John Jay helped him with reads and make better first steps, and you can see it in spring by far. I think PCA has a better natural read and reaction.
Yeah.
But I also don't think Victor Scott could be that far behind.
Sure.
No, I agree.
So so the question is, not necessarily maybe manager. Because St. Louis doesn't like its manager. I don't know if the Chicago likes its manager.
It depends on who you ask.
I think it's kind of split.
Right.
Yeah, the coaching staff that's helping develop and teach the players. Which team you think's better?
Maybe this is the bias for me, but that's where I go with St. Louis. I think if
Yeah.
you look at overall staff, I give
Yeah.
the nod to St. Louis. Now, if you're talking about manager specific,
Right.
I think Council's got the edge
Yeah.
over Ollie. You know, we've seen what Council can do in
True.
Milwaukee,
Yeah.
and we're going to see this year what he can do with a legit team. So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
going to have an opportunity to prove that it wasn't, you just give me guys that nobody really wants and I can make them winners.
Yeah.
Now he's
Right.
got players that are studs
Yeah.
on the field. Can he elevate their play
Yeah.
as well?
That was the piece last year. I mean, you looked at the Cubs and it's like they could be competitive. Like
Right.
you didn't think that they were going to be like bottom of the league type team, but
Yeah.
I thought they had a chance of competing for the division because I thought it was a lot like this year. Division's going to be pretty tight. Definitely. I thought Milwaukee was going to be worse last year than they were.
Right.
Dude, we think that every year. And
exactly.
They win 90 games.
100%.
Right.
It's
They-
crazy.
They figured it out. Now they lost some big pieces, Milwaukee. That
They
is
did.
this
You
year.
asked your toe too, man.
True.
Not as big. I think these hurt more, but we'll get
Yeah.
to that later.
Yeah, the Cubs did get rid of a large portion of their coaching staff.
Right.
In a good way or a bad way?
I don't know. I really liked Mike Napoli a lot.
Yeah.
The players really seemed to jive with him. He seemed like a lot of the guys he was doing well developing with, and I heard that him and Michael Bush had a pretty good relationship.
Yeah.
But at the head, probably give me Craig. No offense to
Yeah.
these St. Louis folks, but
No
Ollie
offense
Marmol
taken.
is not the guy. In my opinion, I think there's just
I think
other
everybody's
pieces.
here is asking him to be a placeholder till Yachty or
Yeah, I mean,
Pujols is ready.
he's really just keeping the seat warm,
It's so weird for me
which
because
sucks because I think he's a good bullpen.
I think,
manager.
I think he's
and
a
that, maybe
solid
that's the piece.
guy,
It's-
right?
You got a lot of these guys that in multiple sports. It's like unbelievable assistant coach, terrible head coach.
Yeah.
Right.
And to me, he just doesn't have that head coach in him.
Fair.
When you look at a guy like AJ Hinch, like he's not AJ Hinch.
Right,
And that
right.
to me, Terry Franco, these guys are.
I wish we
top.
brought in Tito. man.
Yeah, I was absolutely gutted whenever
Right, when he went to Cincy,
Cincinnati brought him.
right.
I was like, oh no.
He wanted to stay in Ohio. That was the
Right.
thing.
I'm convinced.
Anyway,
Gosh, I hate that.
finish your breakdown for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I
Sorry, I
mean,
cut you
no, I the one surprise I guess with the roster move that I hated the most is the fact that Ciani's still on the roster when you bring in Victor Scott. I understand the fourth outfield position, but in my opinion, I think Barrero should have gotten that spot. He gives us more flexibility.
Yeah.
Out of that, plays strong enough defense, but I think eventually, and you and I kind of talked about this earlier today, Tim, I think eventually they end up either moving him, Ciani that is, or DFAing him in some capacity. We'll see what happens there, but like for me, I think this year for the Cardinals, this is my prediction. The team MVP is going to be Newt. I think Lars Nootbaar takes his
Interesting.
big step. I think because he gets to play now it's solidified he's going to play left field every day.
Yeah.
I think it keeps him in the lineup. Again, he's another one of those players. I liked your notion about putting him at DH to keep him healthy, but I think he's a guy that has to play. I think if he's just batting, he loses a little bit of his edge. And so I'm buying into, not that he is going to be Shohei, but I'm starting to buy into the hype that he has the same comps as Shohei on that level.
I mean, I don't disagree, actually.
So for me, the breakout hitter for the Cardinals, I think is going to be Willie. And I know that sounds as like surprising, but I think not only is his average going to go up, I think his home runs go up this year. Again, he plays a full season playing at first base. I think you're looking at 30, 35 home runs from this guy. I think he's going to have over 100 RBIs for us. And so I think he's going to endear himself even more to the Cardinal fan base because of that. You know my feeling about his passion. I want him to take a couple swings at a guy at first base that's talking some stuff.
Yeah.
He might get suspended for a few games, but we'll manage. That's all right. For me, the breakout pitcher is going to be Michael McGreevy. I know he's not starting with the team, but I think he comes up and I think he solidifies himself as, a 3 for this year, possibly 2 for next year. Most disappointing, you're not going to be surprised by this, Tim. I have Andre Palante as my most disappointing. Ooh. I think he falls off tremendously. Not that I wish that, but I think it's going to happen. And then my top rookie, I think, is going to be Quinn Matthews. I think we see him up, and that's just speaking for the Cardinals side of things. I don't think he's up early enough that he makes a dent in like rookie of the year conversations or anything like that. I'm just speaking for the Cardinals side of things. Unfortunately, I don't think they have enough on the roster this year that's going to make them Central Division winners, in my opinion. I think that the stars would have to align in a lot of different ways for that to become the case.
So obviously, I'm stoked that Scott made the roster, but because of that and the lack of moves that they made, not necessarily moves for trading, but just 40-man moves essentially, makes the roster so complicated. Not having Barrero on the team when he fixes so many problems of health and backup, just to have Ciani, because, again, we're talking about managers. For some reason, Marmol really likes him. Even though he's literally just a defensive
I'm just convinced Ciani's got some dirt or got some weird pictures on his phone or something.
But he could easily be traded and moved, made a 40-man spot. So Barrero here. Barrero can slug, swing and miss and slug, but he can play center pretty well and can play shortstop pretty well.
And we need that shortstop backup.
We need
especially
shortstop backup.
For me, not on the roster now.
He's a righty.
Right.
2 center field speed players in Scott and Ciani. Obviously, Scott's bat's better and projected to be better. He was our second best hitter in spring. Same as the PCA comp, essentially. But Ciani's a left-handed bat that can't do anything except
he's going to pinch
bunt.
run in a defensive substitution. I don't know that he's even going to get enough bats.
It's a super waste of a spot and a really frustrating lack of move because Barrero is sitting right there. And he hit pretty well. I mean, he didn't hit incredible, but he hit well enough to be a bench spot.
Better than Ciani.
Exactly, yeah. Ciani batted.
Ciani, to me, should be a guy like Jake Marisnik was for the Astros and some of these other teams. Like, not a great hitter, but we can bring you out in the 8th or 9th inning and nothing
100%.
is landing around you.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's what 100%. We need.
Yeah.
But the Cardinals aren't there. They don't need that guy.
Yeah.
Because Houston could because they had every other piece they needed.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But Barrero does the same can do the same thing. He's just a righty. Yeah. The pitching is also kind of like a meh to me. It's fine. I'm actually really nervous about Sonny Gray. Not because I broke down last week all of the pitching stuff that he was doing in spring, but the velo dipping and him admitting that the velo is dipping is like, pitchers don't admit something is going on when they have more information that they don't want to admit.
I think that's gamesmanship.
Maybe, but I could also see, because he ended the year on the injured list with the flexor issue, and so I could also see like, oh shoot, he's 2 starts in, something hurts
Something's
really bad.
Still bothering him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I could totally see that happening. So that's what makes me, if I were to put a scale number on him, I'm gonna like a 6.
Right.
For him.
If that
Now-
happens, we go full sale mode.
Oh.
I think you have to this year.
Mhm.
Like, again, we start engaging with New York. What do you want? Or
Right.
what is it going to take to get Nato to you?
Yep.
Yeah.
All of those things need to come back up, and it just becomes I'm okay finishing 5th if
Yeah.
the young guys are in the lineup getting the bats and
Yeah.
getting to play.
Yeah, as long as it's just that, man, I get stuck on the lack of 40-man moves just because they're terrified to do anything because of depth. My hot take for the team as a whole, we sell at the deadline and we pull at Detroit and we get better.
I could see that.
So
I could too.
I know we're not quite there, but I'm gonna lead us into. Is there anything I missed with the team? They
No.
didn't break down.
I mean,
Okay.
you're good.
My prediction for the division is Milwaukee winning, and then the St. Louis coming in second place, and then the Cubs coming in third place. And I
Okay.
think the Cubs get rid of Tucker at the deadline.
I
I think
Oh.
we get rid of Arenado, Gray, Helsley, Matz, and I think we get better.
Well, so the piece for me for you guys with Gray I saw today that's going to be tough to move him is it kind of stinks for you guys that he is currently being paid as a top 10 pitcher in baseball.
Right.
Yeah, they
And
gave him a horrible
I
contract.
like Sonny Gray.
We're gonna
Like,
have
don't
to
get me
eat-
wrong.
We're going to eat money.
You're
on
going
a
to
lot
have to
of
eat
it.
money
Right.
on him and Nato both.
And he
100%.
makes even more money next year. He makes
Yeah.
35 next
Right.
year.
Yeah, and
Now, do we move him? He has a no trade.
He has to agree to
Yeah.
it, right?
well, you guys, if you're sending him off, that means you guys probably aren't having a good year.
Right.
So he's
He's
probably
gonna
happy
wanna
to go.
play.
And
Right.
that's the thing.
Especially like maybe some AL Central team is sitting here lurking like, hey, we need
Yeah.
Sonny Gray as our 3.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
We
think
don't
of
need to do
Detroit.
it.
about
Think
that
of
is-
Detroit. If Detroit could pick up Sonny Gray, slot him in at 3-4,
Yeah.
Yeah.
how much
Yeah.
more dangerous they
Yeah.
can they be?
He would be a great 3.
Right.
Jackson Jobe right behind him, or one
Right.
of the 2. The only thing with that is he only signed with the Cardinals because of the distance from where he lives.
Right.
So I kind of think the teams that he would be willing to go to are really, really small, and I think Atlanta or the Reds are the only other 2. Just because he lives in Nashville, proximity to his
Right.
home. Atlanta's 4 hours.
Gotcha.
Since he's
Cincinnati
not too far from that, yeah, a little bit
four-ish
further.
something. So Sonny Gray is my only not sure. Wilson's not going anywhere.
No.
Question: when he retires, say he gets in the Hall of Fame, say he doesn't. I don't know. Probably not a Hall of Fame.
I don't
player.
think he's a Hall of Famer at
Which
this
team
point.
does he retire in the player
That's
in the
gonna be
team's
a
Hall of
tough
Fame?
one.
To me, it's the Cubs.
Really?
Yeah. I know that there was a lot of sour grapes when he left, but he spent so much time there
Yeah.
in Chicago, got the World Series.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the edge right now is the World
The ring.
Series. Yeah, would
And
put
he
him
played
back there.
a pretty big part in
Right,
that
yeah,
too.
100%.
And that core
Yeah, he
was still
started
good
Game
there for
7,
a few
right?
years. Yes, because David Ross came in and pinch hit.
Yep.
Right.
Became the oldest player to ever hit a home run in the
Right,
World Series,
right,
Game
right.
7. So
That was a good year for you guys.
it was a really good year for me. Trust me.
So yeah, I have us selling at the deadline, getting rid of all the pieces that we wanted to get rid of, but Wilson staying,
Yeah.
and we get better, and we
Yeah.
get to the 2 seed in the division.
To me, the
Homer take a little bit, but it's not far fetched.
the piece on the Cardinals that I don't love Luke and Baker.
Right.
The guy definitely is a
Really?
big dude.
Yeah.
Definitely could have some serious power. But if Burleson is what he was last year, that should be your everyday first baseman. No reason a guy that big should be out there running around every single day. If he's not your DH, he should be your first baseman. Maybe Wilson Contreras, pulling him in there, but you've got too many other solid defensive players. Like I said, Burleson did a good enough job out there in the outfield. It was a little surprising.
Right.
But if he is as good as he was last year, he should not be out there. And he's better than Luke and Baker, in my opinion.
Well, so the makeup is interesting. So I know you didn't listen, but last week I had Willie becoming a Gold Glove finalist at first base.
Oh, the Harper.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't have him winning, but I
Typical
mean,
for his career.
if
Right.
you think about catchers and how they pick balls and pick pitches, what's to stop them from doing the same thing at first base? You make an interesting point. The big thing with Burleson is it's more about Burleson and Gorman and which one is going to become the hitter that's going to
True.
That DH role is what's being in the flux.
Baker's
for us.
just there.
Baker's
to
a
be
bench bat,
a 7th inning pinch hitter.
Yeah.
And slug against a left-handed. pitcher.
I think, and this is
Which
part
is
of
fine.
me. I appreciate this, but hate it at the same time. This is also like Cardinal tradition. He's been in the minors. Let's give him a year.
Give him a chance,
Right. Give him his shot. We did it with the guy that we ended up shipping off to New York. The big first baseman we had. No. Before all that, I forget his name now. I'd have to go back and look it up. But they had the same thing where they had this guy that kind of roamed the minors for most of his young career. It was a bigger guy, had some pop.
Yeah.
Showed flashes of it. Came up, was a bench bat for a while, got some starts at first. I think you'll see Baker at first occasionally, but not
Gorman,
a lot.
he was a third baseman, wasn't he?
He's supposed to be our third baseman.
That was
this year.
the problem with not moving Nato
Not
because
right.
Gorman is not a second baseman.
No, and
Arenado
so
complicated the entire season.
right.
Yes.
Arenado ended up not being moved. Really kind of forced us into some decisions.
Which is why the Scott move made everything even more complicated.
Yeah.
Even though it was a good decision. It
right,
made it way
because
more
if
complicated.
Nato's moved, Gorman goes to third. Donnie's at second.
Yep.
Burleson
DHs, so he
Yeah,
gets his at bats
100%.
all the time,
Yep.
and you still get your young and Scott in center. See what Walker is in right.
Yep.
You don't have any problems.
Yeah, that to me, prior to Walker pulling, a beat ups commercial and falling down over a sprinkler, he was my Cardinals breakout player this year. I really think they did him a disservice 2 years ago when they sent him down like they
100%.
did,
100%.
and just pushed back what he could become. But I've seen enough from that dude that he could be a special player if the Cardinals don't hold him back.
Yeah, I'm high on him this year. It's no surprise. Tim knows that.
Yep.
I don't think he becomes like that superstar this year,
Yep.
but I think he takes a big leap. I told him, I said, I think you're looking 20, 25 home runs. He gets back to the
100%.
260, 270 average mark because they're going to just let him hit.
Yep.
Let him get back to his gap to gap with occasional power.
Yep.
And I think that just helps him tremendously. So
Yeah, it's an
It's a
annoying
mess.
season.
It's
It is
a
a
mess.
mess. It's still the team that we love, and like it's so stupid how obsessed we get. But that really complicated the thing, and that's why I think at the deadline when they make the moves, that's why I think they get better.
I agree.
Just because everything gets cleaned up in a sense. Oh,
Sure.
shoot, it's not complicated anymore. There was a quote from Marmol this season when they talked about how because he put Scott on the roster and he kept Ciani, they're like, how are you going to get at bats for all these people? And he's like, that's a good question.
right.
I'm going to try my best.
The Cubs ran across that right around the 2015 to 2018 stretch because Jorge Soler was there,
Right.
Yep.
a bunch of other dudes, and it's like we had a bunch of outfilders, and all of a sudden we had no outfilders. And it was like we have Ian Happ and some random guy that was throwing peanuts out in the stands 2 weeks ago. Like it's no shot to those guys. They made it to the majors, but
Right.
they were not everyday guys, and
right.
Yeah, 100%. So I have, for my superlatives for the team, I have Contreras being the MVP. I also predicted him last week on the podcast, him hitting over 300.
I
and
can see that.
finishing in the top 10 MVP
I could see
with
that.
32 home runs
Okay.
because he'll play 150 games for
Yeah.
the first time in his life.
Sure.
He also, I don't know if you pay attention to him, but he got huge.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
dude,
He's big.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
He's hitting over 400 in spring, like a 1200 OPS.
Heck yeah.
Dude, huge. VS2 is my breakout hitter. Homer take, but I'm super high on him. I was super high on Mason Wynn last year. Fantastic season. So I'm just saying. McGreevy is my breakout pitcher. My most disappointing is Jordan Walker.
I knew you were going there.
And it's a toss up for Gorman and Walker for me because those are the two, like the whole season was like, these two need 600 plate appearances. One of them's not going to work out.
Yep.
To me. Now, if they both do, that's a good problem
Right.
to have. But I just think, especially when Arenado gets moved and he just goes to third base, Gorman, I think Gorman's hitting 30 bombs this year. 250, 30 bombs. Now, that was a big take of mine.
Yeah.
But I think
I don't think his
Wonderful.
average is that high. But
Top rookie is Matthews for me as well.
I saw Gorman play a couple years ago, hit 2 bombs in a game.
Yep.
And he reminds me so much of Kyle Schwarber. It is unreal.
That's exactly what he is.
Right.
You know,
and he's clutch
maybe you
too.
can get
That's
the same
thing.
type of thing like you got out of Schwarber.
Right.
Schwarber, he was not going to be your best defensive player, but he did get better.
Yeah.
And I feel like Gorman's got better at second base, but maybe he can get better at third base. He's not going to be Arenado good.
Yeah.
Nobody.
If he's an average
let's just
third-
be honest.
if he's-
Nobody's going to be defensively
Yeah, I
that
mean,
good.
come on.
If he can hit, a random 35 or 40 bomb year,
Right.
okay.
You'll take
if
that.
he's batting
And-
240 or 250, you don't even care. Like,
Right.
And
awesome.
And I
Right.
think what also scares the Cardinals is doing the same thing that the Cubs did to Schwarber.
Yep.
Putting him on waivers when, dude, he's hitting 42 bombs and like
Somebody's
clutch in the
gonna pick him up.
playoffs
Cubs
for
just
another
need to
team.
wait one more year.
Yeah,
Then the DH
and
is
that's
going
what
to
I'm
find.
and that's in my mind what I see. I'm like, okay, the thing is, if you look at the 2 past years of his, when he is on now, he's not a consistent hitter.
Yeah.
With those guys, when he's on though, he is carrying the team.
Yeah.
Can
Can be.
hit
Right.
2 bombs in a game and puts the game out of the reach for anybody else. So that's why I'm like, sure, he's going to hit 220, 230, but dude, yeah, he's going to slug some bombs and just carry everything for
Right.
everybody.
And to me, if he's 220 and like I told you, and he hits my phone
Hello?
going off here, hot take. No, I'm just playing.
I'll take sound.
If he hits 220, 230, but has 35 bombs, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm 100% happy. I'm not going to be disappointed on any level with that.
Yeah.
For me, and I've told you this, it's going to come down to you're going to have to decide between Burley and Gorman.
Yep.
And whoever you decide, whoever you go with, trade the other while the value's still there. Get what you can get out of it. I know it sucks because Burley could go on to be a tremendous DH.
Yep.
And you have
And
to
he will
eat
be,
that.
if I'm being honest. He's going
and
to be.
you have to eat that. But if you believe in Gorman, you have to make that move because Burley's not going to thrive in a bench role.
Yep.
No.
And
Timing is a huge
Gorman's
thing, man.
not going to thrive in a bench role.
Yep.
So
100%.
you just can't do that.
Well, it's no knock at you guys, but given the Cardinals past, you guys are not moving in before they should.
Right.
And then they're both going to waste out their, it's going to look a whole lot like Bader and O'Neal did. And it's like, darn
stupid,
it.
man.
Now we've let both
I
those
don't know.
guys go.
I'm really curious what next year's just going to look like because the front office is completely changed
Right.
over.
With
So you
Bloom
never
gives
know.
me hope.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
I hear
think
a
we
lot of
have to
that.
get through this year.
That's why I think one of the Walker, Burleson, Gorman, one of them's gone because he's got some sort of thing that he sees. Oh yeah, that player's not going to do it,
Right.
and it's gonna.
So
it's gonna
do
be
you
clear.
think Wynn is still going to be that guy? Like, to me, Wynn well overachieved what I thought he was going to be last year.
I think he shocked everybody other
Yeah.
than this guy. This guy did have him high. I mean, I think there's going to be a bit of a regression.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he's
call
going to
him
be a
having sophomore
defensive
slump.
stud.
Correct.
I think he's a
100%
defensive
agree.
stud 100%. I don't think his bat drops off as much as most people think, but we keep having this conversation. He's not a leadoff hitter.
No.
And we need to get him out of that spot. I think if Victor can emerge and become that, it
Same
will be
with
the
PCA.
best thing for
yeah,
Win.
Yep.
I think
I
it'd be
agree.
tremendous for him because he can just go back to, hey, at the end of the day, hit 250, have a 310 on base, steal me 30 bags, play
You're
solid
exactly
defense.
what we need.
Right.
Yep.
That's what I need.
Yep.
Yeah, put him in the 8-hole, the 9-hole. Man, he's going to thrive.
Yeah.
And in last season when he was there, that was the best hitting that he had. When they moved him up to the 1-hole, he kind of went down a little bit. Now, he also ran out of gas at the end of the season, and he got adjusted to and couldn't adjust back.
Sure.
I think he's going to be. I mean, he's your staple Cardinal. This is a Cardinal homer take, but he's the Ozzie Smith that they want. You know,
Yep.
just this perennial Gold Glover that can hit and be the face
And an athlete for days.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
100%. And he can be fine with, and I'm fine with that. I don't have this grandeur that he's going to be Bobby Witt.
Yeah.
Like I just don't.
No.
I think he's going to be.
I don't see it. That's just me.
He had the same season that Bobby Witt had in his first season. I'm just throwing that out. I think Dansby Swanson's a good comp for him defensively. I just think his bat, they could be close to the same, but I just think Wynn's more agile and more athletic version of that.
I would agree.
With, I think, more defensive upside because he's faster and
Sure.
the arm. The arm is a legit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the piece I kind of worry about with him is that he's going to blow his arm out at some point.
I think he'll learn.
Nato has been really good and helpful to him in that. That's the
an
one
important
thing that
piece.
I really, really
Yes.
appreciate
Yeah.
about Nolan. And I'm kind of glad that he's still on the team to a
Sure.
degree because he has taught Mason that, look, not every throw has to be full max effort
Yeah, they
here.
talked
Right.
about that too.
Yeah, he did an interview where he talked about Nolan sitting him down and going, look, just because you got 100 behind you doesn't
Don't mean you
mean
gotta
that you
use
need to
it.
throw
And
it.
the day, the game, we won't talk to you about this, but the Cubs game we go, Justin Turner's playing. Mason Wynn throws him out.
With 100-mile-an-hour fast, he has to at this
yeah.
point
Yep.
because of the conversation.
100%.
So,
So final takes before we get out here.
okay. Do you want
what
my-
is-
you want my
what is
central?
the NL six team seed real quick? So the
Okay, well,
divisions,
let me
playoffs.
give you the central, and then I know you got your central
Yeah,
too.
yeah. Fire.
So for me, I think it is the Cubs, top seed, Milwaukee 2. I think they still got enough to hold there. I think it's St. Louis in the 3 spot. Pittsburgh sneaks out the 4. I think Cincy's going to stay in 5, but here's my thing. I think Cincy will be within 10 games of the Cubs. I think this is
It's going to be a tight year.
a very tight thing.
just
I
the less
think
tight
it's-
version of the AL.
Right.
Central.
And the only reason why I put Cincy down, it's not because of Timo there, because I think dude's going to elevate them.
Yeah.
I just don't think they have the roster fully in place yet,
Yeah.
on both sides. I think they're missing pieces on the offense, and they're missing pieces on the pitching side.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, the one move that I hated that Cincinnati made was moving India because he was that one piece in their lineup
Right.
that they could count on.
Right.
Like, he
Great
wasn't ever
leadoff.
going to hit 350 with 50 home runs or something, but he was a consistent player. You knew what you were getting with him. Whereas you got some of these other guys are big questions. Obviously, Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah,
that
stud,
dude is
right.
unbelievable.
Right.
But he also may be bat 220.
Exactly. Swings
so,
and misses a lot.
and
Dynamic talent.
Steer, kind of similar.
Right.
What are we going to get with this guy? McLean, he was injured a lot last
Health
year.
for them too.
That's
Yep.
I have the Cubs at 1. Close division race. I have Cincinnati actually at 2 because of their coaching. Kind of similar to AJ Hinch with the Tigers last year, coaching up the young players a lot.
Tito's got 2 rings, right? With Boston. Is it 2? 7 and 13?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I can't
I don't
speak
remember.
to that.
He's definitely he's got but then they've got some pieces and they did bring in decent pitching.
Yeah.
So Milwaukee I've got at 3, close to flipping with St. Louis. I don't know. They've got some good young pieces there in Milwaukee and
Yeah,
like
William
we've said,
Contreras is a stud.
Yeah,
I
he is.
mean, they still got
Churio, man.
again.
Churros,
They just figure it out pitching wise,
Exactly.
and I
And
hate
Yelich.
it. I
Yep.
hate it. I hate it. But
Yep.
they do.
yeah.
They're the Cardinals of the 2015s or
True.
2010s.
True. Cardinals, and then I have the Pirates at the bottom.
Yeah.
But once again, close race. Pittsburgh, who knows? Maybe they got some breakout young guys that put
Their
it together.
pitching, I think, has an ability to keep them in it.
I
That's
agree.
why I think everybody's going to be within 10 games.
They
in
do
this
have
division.
they do have some pieces they probably can move at the deadline that maybe they can bring some other talent in around some guys.
The Pirates?
Yeah, they got a couple vets sitting there that they can move, but
Yeah, but you're both talking they're sellers.
yeah.
So I've got to be the only homer, I guess. I don't think it's far-fetched, but I think Milwaukee's winning the first. St. Louis takes the second. Chicago takes the third. Cincinnati's the fourth. Pittsburgh's the fifth. I all think they're like a game or a half a game within each other, though. At least the top 4. I think Cincinnati, Chicago, St. Louis are within a game to a half a game within each other.
I could see that. Like I said, it'll be
And
close.
I think Chicago is going to sell
right.
Yeah.
just because of the slow start.
Okay.
So go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, National League playoff bracket.
1 through 6. All right. So no surprise here. Obviously, Dodgers 1 seed. I have Philly at the 2 seed. 3 goes to Chicago as the Central winner. I have Arizona in the 4 seed, and I put in parentheses breakout offensive year. Like, I really do believe that for them. I have New York in at 5 and Atlanta in at 6. So I have a 3-1-2 setup as far as
3 in the East.
3 in the East, 2 in the West, and only the 1 team from the Central
Milwaukee.
getting in.
Yep.
Yeah, I have the Dodgers, unfortunately. I've got Philly winning the division. The Cubs, obviously, slotting that last. I have Arizona, the number 1 wild card. I have San Diego, the 2nd wild card, and Atlanta taking the last spot. San Diego, that's once again hinging on the piece of Fernando Tatis. If that guy has the year I think he could have, he could carry that team.
It's a 5-tool player.
Absolutely. But Arizona, I'd say watch out for them. But I actually have Philadelphia winning the NL. So
All right.
Really?
yeah, that once again, that's also Harper having a special year. So
yeah, depending on the epic.
Hot take Burley and Walker for Tatis straight up. Let's go.
Gosh, dude. Who would say no to that?
Burleson's my favorite softball player I've ever seen. He just looks like a softball player.
Right.
Yeah. Burleson?
Yeah.
He's fun. So I have the Dodgers winning 111, actually. 2nd seed is Atlanta at 92 wins for me. 3rd seed is Milwaukee at 92 wins. My 4th seed is Arizona at 91. Philly is the 5th seed at 90. And St. Louis is the 6th seed at 89 wins. I had the Cubs winning 88. Having 88 wins.
Wow. See, I have the Cubs winning 88 games, but that's the lead in the Central.
Division.
Yeah.
I have in the playoff bracket, I have Milwaukee and St. Louis facing each other in the wild card game. So last thing before we go, what's your guys' World Series picks?
Oh, man.
Who wants to go first? I can go first if you want me to.
Yeah, go for it.
I have Texas and the Dodgers, and I have Texas winning.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm. I think Texas can destroy their pitching, their lineup.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to go Boston and Philly.
Yeah.
I think you've got 2 of the best rosters in baseball just on a collision course for each other.
Yeah.
And I think you've got a Philadelphia team that has to win right now.
Yep.
And they realize that, so they may go make a move at the deadline that kind of surprises some folks.
Yeah.
Because they realize they've got to make this move right now.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it. I'm going to go crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say no. I don't even have to make them playoffs, so I can't go
St.
there.
Louis and Chicago.
Right. I'm going to say it's going to be Houston and Arizona
Ooh, I love that.
in the World Series,
That's a good
and
pick.
Arizona gets their title.
That's a homerish pick for you. Arizona would be awesome.
Yeah.
I
would
100%
take
see
that also. That would be a great one.
I don't think MLB would love it all that much.
They
but
would not, but the fans would absolutely
right,
love that.
Right.
Yeah, because in 23 it was the same thing.
Right.
And that was the lowest ratings for a World Series, which is terrible because I love
It's
that.
because LA and New York didn't watch, but everybody else in America was watching.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that would be me. So
Yeah, I like
And
that.
who did you have winning? Arizona. you said.
Arizona.
And who did you have winning? Philly?
I've got Philly taking down Boston.
Okay.
But I've got that one going 7. I think it's
yeah,
going to be a
I can
long
see it.
series.
Yeah. They need to go 7, man. The World Series has to
They
be
should
7
make
games.
every.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Stage it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just make a 7 game. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of Who's in First. Thanks, Brian and Michael, for hanging and chilling. Yeah, if you have any takes, any disagreements, agreements, or let us know your picks and predictions for the season in the comment section on YouTube, or on Spotify or podcasts and everything. And have a great week. We'll see you guys next time.